3 days after a stampede outside Bengaluru's Chinnaswamy Stadium killed 11 people at RCB's IPL win celebrations, it has now emerged that senior police officer M.N. Karibasavana Gowda had red-flagged the risks just ahead of the event. His written warning to top bureaucrats on the 4th of June also cautioned against the felicitation of the team at the Vidhana Sauda. Here's what Gowda, who is in charge of the security at the legislature, wrote to the Department of Personnel and Administrative Reform Secretary G. Satyavati. Lakhs of cricket fans are likely to come to Vidhana Sauda since there is a shortage of security personnel. Making bandobast will be a problem. The DCP Vidhana Sauda had raised serious concerns of crowd swelling at the entrance of Vidhana Sauda if more people were allowed, and that it could pose security risk as they were too short-staffed. But clearly, his warnings were ignored. Let me go across to my colleague Arunil, who is joining us for more on this. Arunil, this letter clearly reflects how the police had forewarned of the kind of security risks that that are there and any eventuality that might happen because of the kind of situation prevailing there. Yet authorities went ahead with this kind of a celebration that was held at Chinnaswamy Stadium, and this was clearly a preventable tragedy, which we have been saying since this tragedy happened.
Well, the way these sequence of events have happened with respect to this untoward incident that has taken place at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, it clearly reflects that why till now the government of Karnataka, Congress government, basically is not taking any kind of accountability. Because here the DCP Vidhan Sauda, Mr. Gowda, clearly has highlighted that it will be extremely difficult to control crowd when such kind of an event, of a high-profile event, wherein Virat Kohli will also be present. If the crowd starts assembling over there, it will be extremely difficult to contain the crowd as well. In fact, the opposition in Karnataka, they've also been saying the same thing, that at two simultaneous places, one is Vidhan Sauda, one is the Chinnaswamy Stadium, a big event, high-profile events were being held, and that is why the police personnel were also divided. Adequate police personnel were not available at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, as well as only 3 gates were open for the public. Why only 3 gates were opened up? Extreme confusion clearly been seen from the Karnataka government side. Appallingly, the Karnataka government is not taking any onus. They have blamed the RCB, saying that it was RCB's event and it was their responsibility to provide security during this time. Law and order is in the hands of the Home Ministry of a state. Obviously, the government is responsible for it. How can you blame a private IPL franchisee for such kind of a horrific incident that has taken place? Yes, from 10 lakh to 25 lakh now, the compensation money has been increased. But the family members of the victims, the grieving family members, because the age group of the victims as well, it is between 13 to 33. The family members are blaming the government, are asking the tough questions to the government, that this money is not going to be enough for us. What is the accountability that will be set in? The BCCI also seems to have acted up. BCCI's recent statement says that we are not going to be a silent spectator. We are going to put strict guidelines for IPL celebrations because it is an annual event. We cannot afford such kind of an untoward incident to take place again. So the BCCI also swings into action. With respect to KSCA is concerned, yesterday key meeting of KSCA was held. The key members who have resigned, their resignation has been accepted. One is Treasurer Jairam, other is Honorary Secretary Mr. A. Shankar. But the KSCA also says that our hands were tied. Our roles were very limited in this. The Karnataka government clearly needs to take some accountability.
All right, let's also get our viewers, Arunil, this breaking news that we are getting at the moment. The support for the suspended top cop Stand with Dayanand chorus is growing, viewers. The Valmiki community is hitting the streets. There's a stir been reported in Hosapet in support of the top cop. Remember, B. Dayanand was the Bengaluru commissioner. He was suspended over the stampede tragedy that happened at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. The charge is that government is targeting honest cops. That's what the protesters are saying. The supporters of the top cop, Dayanand, who has been suspended. This also, of course, comes at a time when social media also saw this chorus that he should be reinstated, that the government is making the police the scapegoat in this entire tragedy. Let me go back to my colleague Arunil for more on this. Arunil, growing support for the suspended police official. Obviously, people are angry with the fact, and they are saying this, whether it's on, the streets or on social media, that honest police officers are being targeted by the government and that Karnataka government needs to be held accountable for what happened.
Well, the Valmiki community is protesting in support of Mr. Dayanand, who was suspended later on. Now, what is startling to understand here is, after this horrific incident took place, it was DK Shivkumar, the Deputy CM, who was very much present inside doing photo ops with the cricket stars, including Virat Kohli. Immediately after the event, he gave a clean chit. In fact, went to the extent of praising the Bengaluru top cop as well as the other senior Bengaluru police officials, saying that they had done an extremely good job in containing the crowd. When DK Shivkumar basically praises the cops, only a day later what we see from the Karnataka government is clear double standards, just to basically wash their hands off, just to basically find some other scapegoat to put the blame on some other entities. The top cop of Bengaluru, Mr. Dayanand, was suspended, and with him several other top police officials from Bengaluru were also suspended later on. This basically comes after warning letters were been written by police officials. Mr. Gowda, being one of the DCP who was in charge of the security in the Vidhan Sauda, had written a letter warning about how a crowd swelling can lead to stampede.
Yes.
It will be difficult for the police personnel to contain the crowd as well. Top police sources also have been informing to us that such kind of warnings were being raised by several police officers, that two simultaneous events held in close proximity with each other will basically divide the
outrage against the Karnataka government, Arunil, and therefore, a lot of questions that remain unanswered need to be answered by the government in Karnataka, and people need to be held accountable as far as this entire tragedy is concerned. For the moment, Arunil, thanks very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're slipping into a short break. News and updates continue on the other side.